Senator, one theme I was struck by in your remarks just now and then our conversation outside is frequent references to history. And of course, history is one of the animating themes of the Clements Center here. We want to draw on the insights of history for contemporary national security policy and challenges. Are there any either historical eras or historical figures that have been especially influential in forming your worldview and your approach to foreign policy?
Sure. I mean, so there are a number. I think if you look back, for example, during the period of World War II, Winston Churchill, I think, provides extraordinary guidance for Americans today. He had a resolute belief in how you needed to confront and defeat tyranny at that time on the European continent. And but for his extraordinary leadership, it's hard to imagine what could have happened to Britain during World War II, a country that, quite frankly, had made some strategic mistakes leading up to it. They so desperately wanted peace that it came at the expense of their security, and created precedents that I think to this day provide strong historical truths for us that we should be guided by. I certainly have tremendous admiration for Ronald Reagan, and my admiration for Ronald Reagan is twofold. One, I think we need to be reminded that in the end of the 1970s, there was a prevailing school of thought among some in the media, many observers, including in academia, that we needed to accept a new order in which the Soviet Union wasn't just our equal, but in fact perhaps maybe had been destined to become superior to us. You saw as it looked like communism, Marxism could be spreading even into our own hemisphere beyond Cuba. Reagan never accepted that. And not only did he never accept it, he confronted it. In fact, Reagan had the audacity, consistently throughout his career in public service, to predict that communism was doomed to failure. And when he used to say that, by the way, people used to laugh. I mean, the world people knew was one in which these two superpowers were equally positioned, and that they perhaps were destined to one day go to war unless this rhetoric was toned down. Now, it is true, Reagan negotiated with the Soviets, and that was the pragmatic thing to do, but he never accepted what they stood for. He never accepted communism, Marxism, and all of its elements as a legitimate way to govern. And I think that's also an important lesson for us. You know, we will have to negotiate and interact, for example, with the government in China and even the government in Russia, but we should never accept what they stand for as legitimate. We should never accept that how they treat their people and others is legitimate. And I think that's critically important in this new century, that those lessons be applied. Obviously, there are unique challenges in the 21st century that are different from anything we've ever seen, but there are fundamental truths about human nature that you find embedded time and again in the historical record, and it would not be wise to ignore that. We cannot afford, especially in the realm of foreign policy, to be operating in theory or in wishful thinking. It has to be deeply rooted in reality and in what the world is, not in what we wish the world was.
If I can follow up.